So welcome to the 1% podcast. Today we have Mr. Phil Rennie on. Now, myself and Phil have been working together for the last few months. Usual story by my accounts. I think Phil's been smashing it. He's been on quite the journey, it's fair to say. And the Phil that's sitting here today versus the Phil that I first spoke to is in a very different place in a real positive way. But I think also, not to belittle Phil, but like a very common story in terms of where he was at, what he was struggling with, but also like what it takes to address it. And in weird, wonderful rocket science, it takes some hard work and a bit of diligence, but also just having a bit of a look at what you're doing in a course correction. And Phil's been very open and receptive to that. And that's why he's sitting here today in a good place. But I want you to hear from the horse's mouth, not me, because it's easy for me to say. So, Phil, before we kick off and jump off, do you want to just introduce yourself, a bit about you, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Phil Rennie. I'm 37. Also, my wife told me I've been saying I've been the wrong age for the past year. Got two kids, 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, two daughters. They keep me busy, and I'm also a business owner and founder.
Lots going on then.
Yeah, busy man.
Yeah, like everyone. That being said, then let's jump off and kick off the conversation. And I think the best place to start would be rewinding a few months into the past as to when we first spoke. What was going on for you back then when you reached out for a chat with me? And what made you want to engage with somebody like me?
So, I think saying I'm an ambitious person is probably an understatement. I am very ambitious. I'm driven, and I'm also very intense. I tend to burn myself out every single year. More laterally in my journey through my managed service provider company called TechServe. Past 2-3 years I've felt, I have went through burnout at the sort of latter stages of the year, and it's something I've been struggling with. Throughout the year, I've never really been able to have the right habits and behaviours to be able to slow things down, and everything just kind of came to a grinding halt just before I reached out to you, and I wasn't focusing on my health, wasn't really focusing on my personal life with the kids and the wife, and largely just going all in the business until I burnt out, and I recognised that needed to change. And I saw some LinkedIn podcasts. You put some of your podcasts up on LinkedIn, and I listened to a couple of them, and I just thought, I like what you're doing. I need someone who is sort of no bullshit attitude, somebody to tell me how it is and tell me what I need to improve upon and keep me accountable. And that's really what made me give you a message and link up.
Yeah, and I think what you're describing, Phil, I probably work in a bit of an echo chamber, right? But like it's very common with lots of the gents that I work with, which is hard charging, super driven, like you said, incredibly ambitious, probably to a fault to some degree. And actually, to say that though, I would probably challenge that earlier on in your life and career and business, that's actually a superpower, right? Because it gets you to achieve what you achieve. You build amazing stuff and you get where you get to. But then we get to a stage in life where that actually has a law of diminishing returns, and it kind of starts to put you into the floor, but then it means others get a diluted version of you as a byproduct to that, including your family, but then also probably the business as well. And so, you use the word burnout. And I think that happens when it's like, you've got so much going on, you can't stay on top of it. You want to keep it all going, but you're struggling to do that. And so you get to a point where it's almost like, I need a time out. But the tricky thing in modern life and business and families is you can't just stop, right? Because like you've got business to run, you've got kids to support. And so it's, I think, a tricky place, to be fair, because you recognize you need to change, but also everything's moving so fast that it's like, well, what do I need to do? And I think that's the point at which you reached out. But equally, and as probably you've seen in the process, it's a common point, but it's a tricky one because you it's this dichotomy of I need to do something, but I can't, and I'm so busy, and you can end up being stuck for quite a while in that kind of space, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was my predicament back in, it was just before Christmas there that we engaged, and I was so lethargic, I had no energy. I was really struggling, and I'm, I don't say it lightly, I was really struggling. And, when I reach out to you, I almost had to think to myself, do I have the energy and motivation to be able to do this? And it wasn't really motivation; it was a discipline. I am quite disciplined, but you know, reaching out to you and saying like, this is where the turning point is, and yeah, since then we've hit that turning point, and we're now on a totally different road.
Totally, totally. But what you've said there is important as well, because sometimes if you are at a pretty low ebb, you're like, well, okay, I want to change, but like, I even got what it needs to change, right? And I think you've historically come at this for yourself and common with others is like, I just need to give myself a kick up the arse and grind it out and all the rest of it. And it's probably true to some degree, but if we were to look at the business thing, well, it doesn't sound like you're particularly lazy there, right? So like, it's maybe not lacking discipline really, but then with your own self-care you are. So it's this weird thing of like, yeah, you do need to be held account, but actually having someone else just shouting at you, berating you, and making you do loads of weird and wonderful stuff, that ain't going to help either, because it'll just add more stress to a system that's already maxed out from a stress perspective. So it's there needs to be an element of, I guess, that kind of being held to account to some degree, but it also needs to be able to help you better manage what's going on, not just add more carnage to the system, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably one of the key takeaways I've got from this program is that, I spoke about intensity. I am an intense individual. I'm all in. And if I fail, I'm quite disappointed in myself. I've got this internal dialogue. It is push, 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 go hard, go hard or go home. And that is me. There was a part in the program where, I was giving it my all. And I can't specifically remember what it was. You sat me down and just says, why you being so hard on yourself? You're constantly hard on yourself. And just because you've dropped the ball once does not mean you need to never pick it up again. And that was my sort of toxic trait was whenever whenever I had this sort of momentary failure, I just threw in the towel. I became disappointed, and you gave me some good sort of mindset tweaks on that. And it's not about always succeeding. We will have off days. We will have things that happen in life. And for me, that was a game changer.
That one again for you, Phil, was a big one, but it's also really common. Again, I see it a lot, myself included. And the analogy I gave you, I probably did this one with you, but I've shared it before. But it's that, the perfectionist mindset, what you're describing. That's like you're driving down the road and get a puncture, like, oh shit. So then you jump out and stab the other three tires. It's like, whoa, like, mate, put the knife down. Here's a puncture repair kit, and let's keep going. And metaphorically, as a coach, a lot of the time, especially with you, was that, and it's making you realize that often what's caused the puncture is a problem that needs addressing. But what causes you to not get where you need to get to isn't the puncture. It's the fact you're stabbing the tires. And so what we need to learn and relearn, I guess, essentially is like how you manage that yourself. Because invariably we might have done a load of stuff, habits we worked out, we can talk about some of it. Like, and you'd be like, you might even come to a call and go, yeah, I've done this, this, and this. And yeah, but I didn't do that. And you'd hone in and focus on the one thing you hadn't done. And if you hone in that too much, that then can detract from everything else and make you not do all the other bits. It's like, well, hold up. Yeah, okay, that bit's not worked. Let's have a look at that and address it because we need to improve. But what about this, 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 and this? And would that have happened in a situation like this 5 weeks ago? No. Well, just give yourself some slack. And it's a dichotomy because we want to hold ourselves to high standards. But if the standards are so high and unattainable that it's kind of impossible, then we get stuck in that place where you just keep tripping yourself up, right? So what would you say then, having come through this process now, Phil, and like we said today, as we sit, I know in an exponentially better and different place, what have been your key learnings and takeaways from doing this?
Yeah, coming back to that point I just mentioned is, don't don't be so intense. Look at compounding rather than short bursts. I mean, I was probably spending the past 2 years ebbing and flowing rather than consistently progressing. And that sort of mindset change is something that has helped me the minute you said it, and it was just like this eureka moment. It was like, I think that I'm quite good at telling people what to do as a leader and as a father, and understanding their errors and how they can improve. But within myself, I'm not too strong at that. And when you did say it, I was like, wow, why have I not picked up on this sooner? Um, that's been a key takeaway for me. But the, you know, probably the largest value that I've had from working with you is, um, there was something just not right. But I was putting in the work, I was still lethargic, and you says, "Look, go away, do some blood work, and just get a checkup." And yeah, I did that, and we identified something, and yeah, we managed to get that solved. And when when I say this, I don't say it lightly. You listen to podcasts, you go on videos, and people say, "Oh, it's been life changing." It literally has been life changing. I can now go on a bike ride with my kids. I can, work a full day. I can get up in the morning, do a workout, get home, do another workout. And, I've got the energy, and just having, I work in IT. I'm not a professional in wellness, and, putting your trust in professionals like you, I was able to extract that knowledge and implement it within my own life. So no, I owe you big time.
Well, mate, it's been a pleasure, but you're the one who's done the talking and opened up, right? I think it's fair to say there's been a few times throughout the process where I always share with people when they say, and you said it to me as well, look, when does this not work? Because to be fair, there's loads of testimonials, there's loads of LinkedIn posts, there's lots. And I'm going off, but it's a fact, right? You go, well, look at all this. And you said, when does this not work? And people say that, it's fair to say. The truth is, it is rare, but there are times when I'd say 2 or 3% of the time. And it's when something goes wrong, you think you've messed up. You're metaphorically about to stab the tires in that analogy we gave. You put your head in the sand, you step back, and you don't talk and engage with it. Because if you don't come up and go, "Oh well, what you asked me to do, Luke, was a load of bollocks," or "I think I messed it up," help. If you do that, then we can unpick it, help you understand, course correct, and keep going. If you don't, there's nothing I can do as a coach, right? But that's the only bit. The thing is, it's kind of easy to say now you're feeling good, the cold light of day, like, oh, the obstacle is the way, we learn from our problems. That's great. When you're in it and you feel that you fucked up and your ego is triggering all the rest of it, and I don't mean you, Phil, the royal you, right? That's difficult. You
Yeah.
embraced, there was definitely a few points where I could tell you were like borderline. You went, no, this just happened. And we're like, fine. But then look where we are. And what that's done is a plethora of things. Like, yes, there's the practical behavioral stuff, that mindset stuff. Like we said with you, I think there's a point at which it felt like no matter what I'm doing here, I feel like I'm pushing a boulder up a hill. And I was like, look, mate, we're doing all this stuff. Go and get that checked. You did. And the results have been a profound impact. But it all requires you being able to be open and talk about some of this stuff. And in doing so, it kind of unlocks where we need to get to. And that might sound a bit woo-woo, but it's not, because we can very easily just get stuck in these patterns and just keep trying to grind it out. And oh, it's just how it is. It's like, no, if a thing is not working, I don't feel great. There's probably something we need to address and look at, be that psychological, behavioral, or just more fundamentally looking under the hood with blood work and stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I, I probably last year I just thought, yeah, I'm just getting old, and I'm 37. I'm 37. And I was thinking, yeah, I'm just getting old. I've got a lot of pressure. I've got 2 young kids, and yeah, just getting that guidance. It's been a game changer for sure.
And I think the thing is as well, you and the royal you, Phil, would, and lots of people I speak to might be listening to this, would probably see value in terms of, like, you said, investing in someone who understands some of this stuff that we're describing, right? And you probably go, well, all right, golf, I'll get a golf coach. So, excuse me, a golf coach, like, no brainer. Or you get a business coach. But then when it's sort of maybe stuff with you and life, it's a bit more like, well, maybe I should know what I'm doing. But the same thing I believe is powerful, and of course I've got skin in the game. It's having an external perspective to look at you and what you're doing, and I think that's what this is. And I think there's inherent value in that. Like the golf analogy, you know, often I think with any kind of coaching, a lot of the time, the most valuable things you are told or hear are, like you said, quite obvious once you see it. You're like, aha! Like in golf, might be like, oh, but just move your foot 2 inches to the right, twist your wrist, it's gone flying. And like we said with you with the mindset bit, and I just went, well, actually, Phil, maybe you just need to cut yourself a bit of slack. And you might be able to tell that to someone else. And then you hear it, you see it, you go, oh, yeah, maybe I should. Now, that seems quite obvious once we've said it. But when you're in it and you're stuck in it yourself, it's very hard to see, right? And so sometimes it requires that third party perspective, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's the same business coaching. You can be so integrated to the business that you're stuck doing the little things. You're not able to get that overview that you need to be able to understand what your next step is. And And that was very much me last year. It was, I'm just here grinding, and really didn't have the mental capacity nor the physical energy to be able to explore it. And even if I did try and explore it, there's a plethora of different Google definitions and conditions that you can go and explore and spend money on, when really, putting a bit of investment into to an expert like yourself is yeah, very worthwhile.
And what would you say, you know how you felt a few months back, and where your head was at, and having come through a process now in a very different place, both physically and behaviour, but also I think quite a profound impact on how you're thinking about how you approach stuff. What would you say to yourself back then, or someone like that who's like in that kind of headspace, but they're like, "What, coaching? What the fuck?" Like, or just generally struggling a bit.
Um, what would I say? I guess it depends who I'm saying it to. I am a self development advocate. I read, I develop myself. I've had quite a journey in my life to be able to go where I've been to where I'm at, and I constantly strive for self improvement. I'm constantly looking to be that better version of myself, and it was natural. It was literally at the point where I thought that I was on the decline, and it was there was no option. There was literally no option. I was not showing up at home. I was not showing up in the business, and yeah, literally. And when I mean not showing up, I mean not able to come into work because I was so burnt out. I mean, it's just having that courage to ask for help. And I mean, I am the first to help any of my friends, any of my family, anything. You're in my tribe. I've got your back. Um, and yeah, when you need help, you've got to reach out, and whether that's through advice or coaching or anything, build up that courage and just do it. Don't think about it.
Yeah, I think it's that whole thing. If you think you got a problem, you got a problem. And then you think you got a problem and you need help, ask for help. And it could be your friends, your peers, anything. Of course, I have a business built around helping people with that stuff. But I think the first step is recognizing if it's not right, I need to do something about it. And something that goes bears saying as well, Phil, you do have other limitations that other people don't have, and you don't let that hold you back, and you do grind it out. And some of that and I'm gonna have to refrain. I say, Phil, chill out, right? You're dealing with, you've got other things you have to deal with that aren't the same as others, and so I think you won't hold yourself to a high standard, but equally you make it work no matter what, and that's helpful and impactful. And it's also inspiring to others because there's other gents in the process that see that and go, "Well, bloody hell, I'm whinging about this, but he's doing that, and he's got those problems," and that's helpful to others, right? And I think because you can lead by example in what you can do, and I think you might have areas sometimes where you think, "Oh, well, I'm not as disciplined or diligent," but then if we take a step back and look at it objectively, you say, "Well, that's not necessarily true," right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own problems in life. I weigh myself. Just for clarity, a number of years ago, I had a bad motorbike accident. I've got upper limb disabilities. Um, that doesn't stop me. I've got the
Cool.
mindset of yeah, I've got the mindset of a able-bodied individual. If you tell me to do something, I'll do it. If I can't do it, I'm going to learn to do it. If I can't learn to do it, I'll try again, try again, try again. Probably injure myself in the process. Get really pissed off. I'm going to be an angry guy to speak to you for a bit of coaching. Um, but yeah, it's having that drive in life is something that's ingrained into me, and there's other people that inspire me, and I think that yeah, it's just coming back to the self development piece. I want to be the best version of myself, and I don't do it for our ego. I do it for my kids. I want them to look at me and say, you know, Dad was a fucking savage, and that's
That's another thing right now as well. I think it's fair to say, and I'm not saying to be a prick, I think, a few months back you weren't feeling like that, right? And so now you are more aligned with like that is a savage, he's getting after it, and you feel, the example you want to set is aligned with not just what you say, but with your behavior. And I don't say that in a judgmental way. I'm saying it because you're in a place where you were in a bit of a hole, and now you've dug yourself out of that. You can sort of practice what you preach as well, right? Which feels great for you, but also others around you. But I mean it when I said it, like it is inspiring, and like it. I think that's the power of a group as well. Sometimes is because you might be struggling with something, and you hear someone else's that's reassuring. But then you hear someone else's, and they've got pretty fucking valid reasons for why they're finding something difficult that aren't the same as your reasons. You go, hold up, maybe I need to pull my socks up here, and that can help others, right? But then you can see the same in others with a different scenario, right? And it becomes more a self-reinforcing place. Because I think with the group bit as well, at first, I think you were a bit like, yeah, not sure about that, but I think actually you got a lot of value out of it coming out the other end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody's got different challenges and different abilities, and it's I saw it as an opportunity to engage and help with people and learn a lot as well. It's everybody's individual, and without the whole group structure, I was a bit hesitant. I'm not private. I'm quite transparent and open within my sort of tribe, as you call it. But in terms of privacy, I'm like, yeah, who's this guy? So I don't know them. Why should I? Why should I let them into my world? But we've met some great guys. It's been, yeah, it's been really good to see everybody in their sort of their journey as well. So it's been enjoyable.
Nice. Well, mate, I know you're a busy man, so I won't cannibalize any more of your time. Um, if someone is watching this and they're resonating with what we're talking about, maybe they're in a place that you were in back then, what would you say to someone who's kind of on the fence with this kind of coaching, but they sort of recognise they've got a problem, and whether that's to it with me or not, it's more someone who that needs to make a change. What would you say to that person?
I would say that the buck stops at you wanting to be a better person. You shouldn't ever be convinced by anyone. You should only have the desire to become a better person. And I can say truly that I am a better person for coming off of the back of this program. And yeah, I mean, it's I would certainly wouldn't be giving you a testimonial if it wasn't the case. Not a
Well,
podcast.
yeah, no, definitely not. No, I think it is testament to that. I think you might have even said after you signed up, you're like, "Look, by the way, Luke, I'm not going to do any of that stuff." I was like, "No, fine, we'll see how it goes." But then obviously, you come round and you feel like you want to share it because the truth is as well. Anyone listening to this, Phil, there will be people who are in your spot or see you and know respect you, and they'll go, "Actually, maybe Phil can do it, I can do it," and whether that's to it for me, great, but that doesn't really matter. I think it's recognizing that you can make a change. And like you said there, which I loved, it's like, well, if there's a better version of you there, that, right? And so if that's the case, you need to do something about it. And yes, there's coaches like me that can help, but also it's about looking at what you're doing and not doing and making some changes, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think you're an absolute legend. So thank you for coming on and talking. I really appreciate it. I've got a lot out of it, and I know anyone watching, listening will have too. If anyone is watching or listening and they're interested in doing a bit of work, so I can help, like we discussed with Phil, drop me a note in the comments or find me a DM. Otherwise, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you all next week. Cheers.